Parks Legacy project that we were funded, and it is the restoration of that historic lily pond right up, right across Lexington, up here by the across from the Mannheimer Monument. And basically that is an old, that was built, I believe, in 1904, I think it is, 1899, 1904, in that range. And it's been out of water, man, for as long as I can remember. I don't remember ever seeing water in it. So we did get money to restore it. Since we try to restore all the monuments and all the older things in Como Park, we try to follow the National Park Service guidelines for rehabilitation of the park. That gives us, we kind of set that up way back when, so that when we do restore things, we are following guidelines for the term rehabilitation as opposed to restoration. Rehabilitation allows us to make some minor changes to the structure while still maintaining the historic integrity and the reason for it being there. So, for example, the lily pond is totally, basically the lily pond is completely unusable at this point. So we did have to completely remove the pond itself. The bridge, fortunately, the little arched bridge is in good shape. It just has some minor tuck pointing and that kind of thing. So structurally that's fine. And what we're going to go in and is basically rebuild the entire lily pond, and it will look like pretty much the way it looks today, but with some enhanced features. For example, well, first of all, it never did have this, but it will have recirculating water in it. It will have oxygenated water, since that on the north end, because of there's a bike path that we put in a few years ago that connects the bridge to the Lakeside Pavilion, and so there was an opportunity, because that's quite high over the lily pond itself, there's an opportunity to create kind of an overlook there. So we'll kind of bump out the path at that location. We'll have a railing that you can kind of, as you come across the bridge, you'll be able to kind of pull off, overlook the straight down on the fountain itself. And we've actually created a drop of water, so we are bringing the water right out at that upper level, so it'll look like kind of a very small pond of water. And then that will just drop down into the pond, and that will kind of stir the water up at that one end. And then we have a smaller little, very simple spray jet at the southern end on the other side of that little bridge. And that historically was held Victoria lily platters, they call them, those great big monster lily pads. And we are not going to bring those back. In talking to our conservatory people and everything, there's just, we need heated water. They're very high maintenance, and we no longer have the staff to do that kind of intensive maintenance. So what we did is, in the spirit of the lily pond, we are basically making it a native Minnesota lily pond. So we will have bring back the typical Minnesota lily pads that you see growing around, and we have two large areas in the pond that you know, the floor of the pond is raised somewhat, and there's drains out of there. So these will be lily ponds growing in this big pond, and then we'll have some water hyacinths and a couple other Minnesota native type water plants in that. And we also then are creating the pond originally had a walk that went all the way around it, and we are bringing back a walk that goes all the way around the pond. And then we are locating kind of two seating areas. Besides that overlook area at the top, we're locating a seating area at the southern end, so it kind of overlooks that water jet, and then another seating area kind of at the northern end with a small arbor. And the arbor very similar to the Monheimer Harbor that's right across the way. So round pillars coming up, a curving top with glass on the top, and base of it will be actually very similar to out here. The base will be the round field stone, kind of tapered base that will hold up the arbor. Top of the fountain, or the top of the whole lily pad will restore those round field stone rocks that you see still are pretty much left there. So they'll be, instead of the concrete, on the very top edge of this thing. So it'll basically replicate what it used to look like, but there'll be a little bit of lighting there. We didn't have money to get a whole bunch of lighting in that area, but we have some lighting, and we have a planting plan that is a very nice planting plan, but we have no money to implement it. So we are hoping to seek donations for planting there and also for the benches. We don't have any money for the benches that we've got located there. So good opportunity for people to fund some additions to that. And that, we opened bids for that. We awarded the contract. The contractor should start yet this fall. We actually are needing to get the fountain basin in this fall. We hope we're going to make it or before the winter because they have a really strict deadline to spend all these funds by June 30th of next year. So, or we lose them. That's that.